Okey, apa khabar semua? Hari ini saya mau membawa kita untuk berbincang tentang Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Jadi yang anda nampak di skrin sebelah kiri ini, inilah Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Ada banyak muka surat, 275 muka surat. So ini muka surat depan dia. Ditulis di situ United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and Federation of Malaya, North Borneo, Sarawak and Singapore. So this is agreement relating to Malaysia. Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Malam ni, pada masa sekarang kita akan bincang tentang artikel 1 Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Okey, kita tengok artikel 1 Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. This is agreement relating to Malaysia, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the Federation of Malaya, North Borneo, Sarawak and Singapore, desiring to conclude an agreement relating to Malaysia. So, we agree as follow. Article 1. So, kita akan berbincang tentang article 1. So, ni article 1. Saya buat yang ni. So, senang untuk faham. So, kita baca dulu artikel 1. Apa tu artikel 1 Perjanjian Malaysia 1963? So, artikel 1 express that the colonies of North Borneo and Sarawak and the state of Singapore shall be federated with the existing states of the Federation of Malaya as the states of Sabah, Sarawak and Singapore in accordance with the constitutional instruments annexed to this agreement, and the federation shall thereafter be called Malaysia. So, kita ada beberapa informasi yang kita boleh dapat daripada artikel 1 Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Yang pertama, dia cakap colonies. Okey, sini ya, colonies of North Borneo and Sarawak and the state of Singapore shall be federated with the existing states of the Federation of Malaya as the states of Sabah, Sarawak and Singapore. So, daripada informasi ni, daripada perkataan yang awal ni, kita dapat informasi bahawa colonies of North Borneo and Sarawak, once we are federated with the existing states of the Federation of Malaya, Sabah and Sarawak become states. So what is changing here? What is changing here is the constitutional position. Oh, bukan saja constitutional position. Maksud dia sini ialah decolonization process. Apabila Malaysia dibentuk, berlaku decolonization process. So, Sabah and Sarawak mula-mula we are colonies, and then we become states in Malaysia. So, first we become colonies in the United Kingdom, and then once we form Malaysia together with Federation of Malaya and Singapore, we form Malaysia here. So, inside Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak has become states. So, our status from colonies has changed to states. What we understand here is that our status from colonies has become states. This show that the article 1 show us the purpose of Malaysia. Article 1 of Malaysia Agreement tell us the purpose of Malaysia. The purpose of Malaysia is decolonization process of Sabah and Sarawak. So when we form Malaysia, the purpose is for North Borneo and Sarawak from colonies, and then we become states in Malaysia. Malaysia, when it was formed, it is a sovereign. It's a sovereign entity. Malaysia, not Malaya. Salah. One of the states in Malaysia is Federation of Malaya, State of Singapore, Sabah, and Sarawak. So we have 4 states. We form a new entity, a new federation, which is Malaysia. This Malaysia is a sovereign. We have a sovereign. But what happened here? A lot of people think or misunderstand that once we become colonies and then become states, we achieve independence. Actually, we are not independent. We become in the form of Malaysia. So I show you in a box like this. So in this box is Malaysia. So Sabah and Sarawak, first we are colonies outside here under UK. So we have Sabah, not Sabah. We have North Borneo and Sarawak. And then we federated with the Federation of Malaya. We become states in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have 4 states. We have Federation of Malaya, Borneo State of Sabah and Sarawak, and then we have Singapore. Federation of Malaya, once they form Malaysia, they become States of Malaya. Now they become States of Malaya. So a lot of people don't understand the composition on how we from colonies we become state. So the purpose of Malaysia, based on Article 1 here, is that the status of Sabah and Sarawak from colonies, we have become state in a sovereign entity. We have a sovereignty. So Sabah and Sarawak, this process is we call decolonization process. Decolonization process, which means it is a process. It's still not complete. The colonization process of Sabah and Sarawak here as a Borneo state, it's still ongoing when we form Malaysia. So we have Malaysia in Sabah and Sarawak here. Malaysia itself is still a decolonization process. It is still ongoing. So we have 4 states just now, right? We have State of Malaya, Borneo State of Sabah and Sarawak, and Singapore. So in Federation of Malaysia, we have 4 states. 4 states. So it is written like this. First, okay, let me write it here. Okay, I think it's better here, so you can see States of Malaya. What is mean by States of Malaya? States of Malaya, it is written as a collective noun in English language. Collective noun. So that means we have, for example, Johor is one of the states of Malaya. Terengganu, one of the states of Malaya. Negeri Sembilan, it's one of the states of Malaya. Perlis and Malacca, one of the state of Malaya. So this is one entity. One entity. It's states of Malaya. Terengganu is states of Malaya. So it's a collective noun. It is a one entity, one unit of the federation. And then number 2, we have Borneo State. So this is written as a plural. If you know English language, it's written as plural. Borneo States here. But when you for states of Malaya just now, it is written first, states of Malaya. So Johor is one of the states of Malaya, Terengganu one of the states of Malaya. States of Malaya is one entity. Borneo states, it is written as a plural, not state of Borneo. It is written as a Borneo states. So Borneo states, 2. So we have Sabah and Sarawak. So this is 2 unit. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 we have state of Singapore. So this is singular. So singular mean 1 unit. So we have 4 states in Malaysia. Why I say 4 states in Malaysia? It is as written in the section 4 of the it is similar with what written in the original article, in original section 4 of the Malaysia Agreement 1963. First, we have states of Malaya, namely Johor, Kedah, Kelantan, Melaka, Negeri Sembilan, Pahang, Penang, Perak, Perlis, Selangor, and Terengganu. So all of this component unit is inside here, inside states. Inside state, it is inside states. It's a collective noun. We call this collective noun. Collective noun like a parliament of monkey. So one entity of one grouping of monkey, something like that. So this is a collective noun. Borneo states we have, this is in plural. Sabah, Borneo states 1. Another Borneo state, Sarawak 2. So we have 2 here. And then we have state of Singapore, another 1 unit. So we have states of Malaya, Borneo state of Sabah, Borneo state of Sarawak 2, and state of Singapore 1. So we have 4 states in the Federation of Malaysia. So that is another information that we can get from Article 1 of Malaysia Agreement 1963. So once we are federated, so how Malaysia was formed is based on federation. We form a new federation, and the new federation is called Malaysia. Federation shall thereafter. So colonies, after we federated with the existing states of Malaya, we become states. From colonies, we become state. And then we form Malaysia. Once we become colonies and then become state, we transfer the British, United Kingdom, UK, they transfer our sovereignty from UK, because when we are colonies of United Kingdom, not Borneo and Sarawak, our sovereignty is with the United Kingdom because they are our colonial master at that time. So the sovereignty of Sabah and Sarawak, United Kingdom, transfer it to Malaysia, not to Malaya. Malaya don't have our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is in Malaysia. So why it's changed, put like that? The reason is like this. We have to make a decision. We have Sabah, we have North Borneo, and Sarawak. Under United Kingdom, we are colonies. So the United Kingdom want us to become independent. So if we remain under United Kingdom, we are undergoing the decolonization process as a colonies. So this will be our decolonization process. If we doesn't form Malaysia, so we become a colonies of United Kingdom. Our situation is that, memalukan lah. It's a shameful situation. We are undergoing the decolonization process as a colonies. But when we form Malaysia, we become Sabah and Sarawak. and then we form Malaysia. So under Malaysia, we are not colonies in Malaysia, we are states in Malaysia. It is under a sovereign entity, and the purpose of Malaysia is to complete the colonization process of Sabah and Sarawak. So eventually we will become independent. How we are going to become independent, it will be decided in the future by Sabah and Sarawak. But let me not go here first. We need to complete the decolonization process as a sovereign entity. So if how UK make Malaysia is for Sabah and Sarawak as states in Malaysia, not as colony. We become states in Malaysia. Our status is self-government. When we form Malaysia, we are still not independent. We are self-government states in Malaysia. So we are being given the honor to undergoing a decolonization process here under a sovereign entity, not as colonies. If we undergoing decolonization process as colonies, it's a bit shameful. But we are given a privilege actually here, privilege to undergoing decolonization process, to complete our decolonization process within Malaysia as a sovereign entity. So we given the honor, we have marwah, to undergoing decolonization process under a sovereign entity where our sovereignty is transferred to Malaysia. So eventually when we complete our independence, our sovereignty will go back to Sabah and Sarawak. But that is how we will get independent. Once we get our sovereignty back from Malaysia, it's transferred back to Sabah and Sarawak. But still, if Sabah and Sarawak decide we want to stay in Malaysia, if we want to our sovereignty remain in Malaysia, it is also independent here. Independent can mean many things, but there is another topic for another time. So this is some of the information in Article 1, just Article 1. So it said the colonies of North Borneo, you look here, left here, Sarawak and State of Singapore federated with the existing states of the Federation of Malaya. So this existing states of the Federation of Malaya, once we form Malaysia, it becomes states of Malaya, and then it makes how we are federated is in accordance with the constitutional instruments annexed to this agreement. So constitutional instrument that explain how we are federated is in section 4 just now here. This section 4, this is the constitutional instrument, Annex A of Malaysia Agreement. See, this is constitutional instrument. So this is Annex A of Malaysia Agreement, Part 2, Section 4. This Section 4 has become Article 1 of Malaysia Federation, Constitution of Malaysia. It become Article 1. It has been inserted as Article 1 in the Federal Constitution. So what is other information that we can get here? Okay, this is the one to this agreement, and the Federation shall thereafter be called Malaysia. Another information here is that we can relate it to Article 3 here. This is new information, I tell you. Article 3, it said, the government of the United Kingdom will submit to Her Britannic Majesty before Malaysia Day order in council for the purpose of giving the force of law to the Constitution of Sabah, Sarawak and Singapore as states of Malaysia, which are set out in Annex B, C and D to this agreement. So, once we become from colonies, we have become states when we form Federation of Malaysia. So, as you can see here, the force of law of the Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak is we are become states of Malaysia. We become states of Malaysia, not states of Malaya. in 1976, Sabah and Sarawak has become one of the states of Malaya. It's become states of the Federation. In 1976, we have become grouped together in Article 1. Clause 1. Clause 2. Article 1, Clause 2. We have grouped together in as one of the 13 states of the Federation. If we look at the definition of the Federation in Article 160, Clause 2, it said the Federation formed based on Malaya Agreement 1963. Based on Malaya Agreement 1957. Based on Malaya Agreement 1957. So, Sabah and Sarawak has become one of the states of the Federation of Malaya. But it said in Article 3, the government of the United Kingdom provide order in council for the purpose of giving force of law for Constitution of Sabah, Sarawak and Singapore as states of Malaysia. So, Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak only have a force of law as states of Malaysia. What happened in 1976 is that now we become states of Malaya. So, what happened to the Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak? Once we not Malaysia anymore, we become states of Malaya because of the amendment in 1976. So, do we have force of law of the Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak anymore? We don't have any force of law anymore once we become states of Malaya. Once we don't have the force of law, Sabah and Sarawak, what happened to them? Sabah and Sarawak. Once our constitution doesn't have force of law anymore. So who have the force of law on Sabah and Sarawak? Because of amendment in 1976, we beg to become colonies of North Borneo and Sarawak. So we beg to become colonies. We only agree to become states of Malaysia based on Malaysia Agreement 1963. But because of the breach here in 1976, we become states of Malaya. Instead of become state, we revert back to become colonies of United Kingdom. So for the people that said amendment in 1976 is not a big issue, I don't know, you are very stupid. You said amendment in 1976 that changed the constitutional position of Sabah and Sarawak. Actually, you agree that Sabah and Sarawak to become colonies, to revert back our status to become colonies. Other than become states, we only agree to become states of Malaysia, right? And then as a consequence of 1976 amendment, we become states of Malaya. So we automatically become colonies. So which colonies? Once we become colonies, what happened now? Sabah and Sarawak is a colonies. We come back to colonies. So we fall back under United Kingdom. Now Sabah and Sarawak, because of the amendment 1976, has become colonies of United Kingdom. Thank you for watching. I think that's all.